there, my name's Jill Tiny. I'm from Collaboration Global, and this is our podcast, Being Human, Hidden Depths. I'm going to be interviewing some of our members from Collaboration Global, and they're going to be sharing with you their extraordinary lives. Although they would probably believe they're just normal, everyday, average humans, but they are extraordinary. A bit like you and me. We all have our story to tell. We've all been through difficult times, and we've come out the other end having learnt an extraordinary amount about ourselves that we can share with others. So I think you'll find lots of things that will resonate with where you've been in your journey as well. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Hello and welcome to the podcast Being Human, Hidden Depths. My name is Jill Tiny on behalf of Collaboration Global, and I'm really excited to welcome today a very special guest, one of our newest members, Katsumi. How do you say your surname? I've forgotten.
Sakamoto.
Sakamoto. I'm getting muddled up with somebody else. Sakamoto. Thank you very much, Katsumi. Oops, that's a good start, isn't it? Hey-ho. So welcome. Thank you for coming today. Really looking forward to having you.
Thank you. It's an honor to me to be part of the group in the first place. Collaboration Global has been quite special for me for the past 2 months. It is quite a breath of
fresh air.
A breath of fresh air.
It's catching, this tongue-tied thing, isn't it? Not just me. Brilliant.
And being invited to be here today, wow, what an honor. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm really looking forward to this conversation because you, to me, represent something that we all desperately need. And quite often we get obsessive about it. And something that adds huge value to our lives when it's all going right and takes away every ounce of joy when it's going wrong. People are now thinking, sure. What on earth?
What is she talking about?
Yeah, what is so powerful? So before we go there, I'm going to let people think about that for a moment. Ironically, there was a roundabout way that you came to Collaboration Global. So do you want to tell us how you got to us, but also what made you join and what was the sort of attraction, the stickiness that made you go, I need to be part of this?
Right, yeah, definitely. That's a great question. I actually got to know the name Jill Tiny. Did I say it right?
You did. Well done. Like short.
That's good. And Collaboration Global through a podcast that I heard from Influencer Academy. Jonathan Holton, its founder, it's like my childhood best friend, if I may. And I just love his stuff. And I was listening to a podcast that you did with him. Mm-hmm. And the way it sounded to me about Collaboration Global, it was just the perfect thing I was looking for. Because I have had contact with other networking kind of groups, and they were all very, very salesy in the sense of, okay, so I'm here just to make business and that's all, and to make a profit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And having this new project of mine actually starting to get momentum, I really felt like I had to be more out there, and Collaboration Global just sounded like the perfect place to be for me to have the impact in the number of people that I want to, which being completely honest with you here is I think millions of people that I would like to impact, and being part of something that's first global and second has this sense of let me see what I can do for you. And it doesn't matter anything that you can do for me. Yeah. And I think that's the first thing that really got to me, because I just want to help people. I just want to have that impact. And without really worrying about what I can get in return, because if I'm able to have that impact in that many people, whatever happens, I'm sure it's going to be for good.
Yeah, and what kind of goes around comes around, doesn't it? I think that's so true. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a networking group when you go into it and you're looking to make money, because that's what they're there for. And you go in and you work your network. But what I find is when somebody comes to a meeting or talks to you and about their business, when they're coming from a place that's transactional, i.e., how much money can I make out of this deal, or how much money can I make out of this person, there's a kind of an energy that they're giving off that subconsciously, for me anyway, makes me go, I'm not too sure. I don't want to be sold to, I want to choose. And when I have a great salesman in front of me with a product that's right up my street, I want them to work at it and then show me just what you said. They want to help me. They're solving my problem. They're making my life easier. Not they're making money out of me. And when somebody's got that as their main reason for being, it shows. I feel that their energy is kind of not just negative, but it's kind of, it's repelling.
It's heavy.
Yes, yeah. And I'm kind of like, okay, I want to go now. I don't want to talk to you. I can feel this repellent going on. What I say to a lot of people come to Collaboration Global, is when they say to me, okay, so how do I make money out of this, and how long is it before I get my money back, and how much? It's like, well, maybe this isn't for you, I'm not sure. But when you come,
probably in the wrong place.
Exactly. And when people like you come along and go, how can I help? What can I do? And you get stuck in straight away. You've turned up at all the meetings, you've shown your face, you've commented, you've been part of the platform, you're on the podcast now, just 2 months in. It's this like, roll your sleeves up and see what I can do to help people. And to me, that's like, what if the whole world looked like that? What if the whole world? It would be
amazing, wouldn't it?
Exactly. So the impact that we are making together, because we both have that same viewpoint of let's see how we can help. And then when you get a few people like that together,
it just goes bigger,
bigger and bigger.
It just goes bigger.
You are fitting in like a hand in a glove. Seriously, it's so lovely. And what I like is when a new member joins, and then I hear other people talking about the new member. It's like, oh, okay, they're getting around a bit. People get to know them. They've got this little reputation of like, I really like him. He seems so cool. Oh, wasn't he brilliant? He's been helping me. He's been doing this with me. So a few people have said that to me already, and I just love that.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's great to hear.
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning. Tell us a little bit about the young Katsumi. Was he a good little kid? Did you have a dream or ambition when you were like 8 and got it squashed because somebody said you've got to go and get a job and earn some money? How did this all come about?
Well, I'm a really, really blessed person in that sense, because I've got my mom and my dad that I'm going to say the best people on earth, but obviously everybody else is going to think someone else is the best person on earth. But my parents, for me, they're just amazing, and I'm such a huge fan of them. And I always tell my friends that when I get there, I'm half as good as they were, then I'm just fulfilled completely, because they were that good with us. I mean, I've got a brother and sister, younger brother, older sister.
Okay.
I'm right there in the middle.
Is she a bossy boots? Does she tell you what to do?
Yeah, exactly. But they've always given us so much love and so much caring that my childhood was just perfect. Obviously, we've never been rich or like had lots of money, but there was always enough. And now that I've grown up and I actually realize what an adult life is like, I can actually see how they sacrifice themselves for us.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing to know that I'm loved that much. So so my whole history it comes from that place. Wow. That my mom and dad, they were always doing everything they could, and even what they couldn't, to make sure that we had the best chance possible. So every time we came with the idea of trying a new sport, they would make it happen. Learn a new language, they would make it happen. So they actually put us into an English course so we could actually learn the English language. By the way, for you that are listening and don't know my background, I'm Brazilian. So yeah, I come from Brazil, and learning a new language obviously was really good. And when they had the chance to take us abroad, which was actually end of the 1990s, 1999, my dad had this opportunity to go abroad to do some research in the university. So he actually took the whole family with him. So we could have this new experience of new, not just the language, but the culture, and actually broaden our opportunities. Again, they were thinking about us. So that was always amazed me. That has always amazed me. They were really, really good.
Was there a shock when you first came to the UK? Where did you end up? What city were you?
Well, we went to North Wales. Yeah, we lived in Anglesey, and well, that's a fun fact. I actually lived in Shambapur, Gingilgogeri, Quendubu, Chanticilio, Gogogor, which is
never heard that with a Brazilian accent before.
The longest name on earth.
Well done, you! I've never been able to say that. That's fantastic.
It did take me the whole 2 years that I lived there to learn how to pronounce it. I probably pronounced it wrong somewhere, yeah? It's way too long.
You got through it, though, and that will stay with you forever. That's brilliant. But what a beautiful part of the world. So you must have thought all of England was like that. It's like, what a pretty, all of the UK, rather, was like that.
It is a fantastic place, having Snowdon just in your backyard. Wake up to go to school and look at Snowdonia National Park every single day. It was a bliss, yeah. And I have to say that I was surprised in a very good sense, because no offense to any of you, please don't get me wrong here, but the British people has the fame to being a bit colder, in the sense of, very restrict and upright, and with the royal family and everything. But for us Brazilians, that we are very touch-feely and, come here, have a hug. We were quite tense when we first went to Britain, because we had the image of, okay, so we need to be a bit more cautious. We can be all of us, what we are. We need to be a little bit more conservative in a sense. But when we first got there, our neighbors were just so fantastic. And they just came around and, look, if you need any help, we're here. We couldn't speak properly the language yet, so we had quite a difficult time understanding each other, but we just made it work, and they were so good to us. It was quite amazing, and so that was a great surprise for us.
That's lovely. It's funnily enough, my neighbours where I was growing up in the East End of London, they were Portuguese, but also came to the UK without any language. So it wasn't until their son started to grow up that he became our interpreter. And then it only took about a year before the mum and dad kind of picked up the language really quickly as well. But again, very loving and very open, and as soon as I had my first daughter, they were like, "Oh, let me cuddle her, let me have her. You can't have her back." And they were just so encompassing, like a huge family. It was lovely. So I know what you mean. It's interesting to have it.
It's a Latin culture, we're very touchy.
Yeah. And family orientated, because what I loved about that family is they had the grandma and the mum and dad and the two boys. Well, there's three boys in the end, and then the grandma and the wife's sister, all in the same house. And we were like, "Whoa, that's because with my nan, she lived over the road." Yeah, it was a bit weird, but looking back now, I'm like, I quite like that. It was, it's a lovely thing to family is important, I think.
It is.
It should be important to everybody, but it's lovely to hear about your story about your parents. And where do they live now?
Oh, we all live in Brazil now. I live in São Paulo, the big city, São Paulo. They live in the countryside of the state of São Paulo, somewhere around 8 hours away.
Oh, that's quite a way.
So yeah, it is a huge country, yeah, with continental proportions. So
Yeah.
it takes an 8-hour drive to get to them, but they live in a very quiet, small town that is just peaceful. The silence, the nature, got a huge river just outside their door almost. So it is great to go and visit them, and I go every month. So
what a good son you are. So it's like a family reunion every month. Your siblings go at the same time?
Almost every time, but sometimes it's just me and my girlfriend, or sometimes it's just my sister. So we take turns, but obviously when we manage to get everybody together, it's just like party.
Lovely. Yeah, that's nice.
It's fantastic.
Are they ever going to come back to the UK?
I plan to be honest. I actually have the plan to spend another season over there.
Season. You miss the rain, don't you? That's what it is.
I do. I miss the rain and the cold, definitely. And the food.
Oh.
And here I'm being quite honest. Yeah, I know it sounded a bit.
20 years ago, we had a terrible reputation. Well, probably 30 years ago, terrible reputation for our food. But I think we've kind of upped the ante a little bit now.
But I miss the simple stuff. The sausage for breakfast, I cannot find sausages like you guys have there anywhere here in Brazil. It's just like unbelievable. I can get German sausages that have all this world-renowned quality, but British sausages, the ones that I actually like, can't have it anywhere here. Your bacon, I think, is the best bacon I've ever had in my life. So that I do miss that as well. The simple things.
Yeah,
the simple things.
I get it. I love it.
But I do want to go back for a while. Maybe next year if COVID allows me.
Yeah, I just think traveling just gives everyone a different perspective on life. And one of the things we say in Collaboration Global, one of our values is human being first. And by kind of identifying that we don't care where you've come from, we don't care what nationality you are, we don't care what colour you are, what sexual orientation you are, whether you're male or female, old or young, whatever it is, you're a human being. And we are all joined together. So whether you live in Brazil, or whether you live in Iceland or Australia or anywhere in between, we've got a duty of care to each other. And that duty of care is something that binds us together. And we call it like the superpower of love, isn't it? So I think when people do go traveling, they see the different cultures and they can relish it, they can appreciate it, and they can appreciate what they've got more at home probably because it's different to what they've experienced. A friend of mine just took herself off for a year on her own to go around the world, and she said it was the best thing that she'd ever did because of the different people that she met and the different cultures that she managed to experience. Most people just don't. I mean, my parents never even got a passport in their whole lifetime. And it's like, well, how narrow must your view of the world be if all you're doing is looking out of the same window all the time? It's very...
And I think that you hit a nail there, yeah? You said the narrow view, yeah? When we go abroad and we start getting to know a different culture, our mind just goes like this. Expands, and it just opens up doors for so many other things that you would never think of if you just stayed in that same place for your whole life. Yeah. So yeah, I do tell everybody that I have the chance to. If you have the opportunity, go. Yeah. If it's just, even if it's just for a month.
Yeah.
Just for you to get to know the culture, not just holidays. Holidays are fine as well, or good, but holidays, you just go to the touristic attractions because that's all the time you have to. But not change a little bit and actually get to know a little bit of the culture of the place you're in.
Yeah.
And that's just going to open up your mind in such a way that everything else is going to become better because of it.
I think so.
I have that feeling anyway.
In my experience, not that I've ever gone anywhere for a month, I don't think. So I've not done the gap year. I've done the travelling. Okay. I'm going to do that, when I've got a bit more time. But what I find is when you do get to know people, so we often go back to similar places and we get to know people, and you're right about the British personality. I think we are quite reserved, but a lot of other people, they just invite you into their homes. And it's amazing to break bread with a different nationality, no matter what colour or creed they are. And we went to we've got a property in Cyprus, and we got to know the locals. And they said, come round for supper. I'm like, okay, we'll pop round for supper. Oh my goodness, it's like a party. They'd invited everybody. Jill and Alan are coming, so come over. And we were in their little a courtyard out the back, so everything was outdoors, and they've got these olive trees, and they've got all these fairy lights hanging from the olive trees.
Beautiful.
Massive big trestle table that everyone was sitting around, and there was his brother and his brother's wife and his brother's kids and her mum and his work colleague and their kids, and there was loads of people, and all the food's being passed. We couldn't speak, it was all Greek to us, just couldn't speak a word of the language, so there was like 2 people there that could speak English, so they were interpreting, but it didn't matter. And I said to Alan, if you were to ask Hollywood to do a set that looks like a typical Greek home, this is what it would look like. It was magical, it was absolutely magical. But they open their hearts to us as well as their homes. Yeah. And as memories you never forget, isn't it? It's just wonderful. And friends you make and you keep forever.
Yeah, true. Definitely.
So let's move swiftly on. I need to go on holiday now. You made me think about, let's go abroad. So
Brazil is a great place.
Yeah,
very sunny.
Okay, I'll book my flight. Watch out. So one of the reasons you joined Collaboration Global is you have a passion, and that's what a lot of people join for, is because they might be doing the day job, but this is what they kind of are committed to, and they have something in their heart, something that's on their heart that becomes their day job, that they want to share with everybody. And you found something that was on your heart. You said, I really need, as you've said earlier, to impact millions of people, because what I know can help people and can transform their lives. And this is what I was alluding to at the beginning of the interview. So tell us what it is that you're going to be sharing with people and how it's going to help.
Well, I think it has everything to do with health. Yeah, the word health, obviously, it's known all around the world and everybody thinks of it. And every time we say health, we usually think doctors, don't we? Because health for us, when we actually start worrying about health, is when it's going badly.
Yeah.
And why does it have to be like that? Yeah, why don't we just start worrying about health while we're healthy? And why not just make it better? Why not make it work for us instead of against us? So what I realize is that most people all around, they say they're worried about health. Most people are even scared of death.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't actually believe they're going to live that long, because if they did, they would actually take care of the now. And it's quite funny. Yeah? It's like a huge contradiction, human contradiction. Let's call it like that.
Yeah.
And we actually hope that we have a long life. We hope to get older in a healthy way, in the sense of I don't want to get older and live into my 90s in a bed.
Yes.
I want to live actively.
Physically,
okay, so everybody's got that desire.
Yep.
But nobody, I'm just generalizing here, but most people don't do anything about it.
Yeah. It must be the majority, yeah. And most people are like this, cross fingers, aren't they? Or hopefully I'll be fine. It'll be okay. I'm sure it'll be okay.
Yeah.
But they don't actually.
The lottery.
Yes, exactly. I think the odds are probably more stacked against you than in your favour. It's just like the lottery, really.
And one comparison I usually do with my clients now, I'm actually working as a health coach, and actually helping people to pay attention to health. I think that's the main thing, and that's the main message I want to bring. Yeah, it always started with me realizing that I wasn't as flexible, active, or even healthy that I used to be when I was younger. So I decided I need to lose some weight. Yeah? I actually hit a new PB in the sense of how heavy I was.
Oh,
Okay, that's enough, and I actually need to go back to being active and to being healthy. And it always started with losing weight, but it became so much more with all the research that I started doing, with all the knowledge I actually acquired parallel to my physical education degree that I got like over a decade ago. Just came back to me all the knowledge, and okay, let's check all the most recent researches and see what actually works here. And what developed in me in that sense was almost like an obsessiveness with longevity,
okay.
with living longer. And if I can today start a new lifestyle or change a few habits that actually can help me get 1 year more, or maybe 2, or maybe 5, or maybe a decade. But that more is not just in the sense of time wise, is in quality wise as well. So if I get to my 80s looking like I'm 60, or not just looking like, but feeling like, why not? We have all these examples around the globe, of people that, okay, he's 85. Oh no, he cannot be 85. He looks like a 55-year-old.
Yeah.
And it has a lot more to do with our mindset than anything else. That's what I realized, and that's what I'm trying to shout out there, just to wake people up for it.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because we are our own worst enemies, and I'm speaking from experience, because you don't, especially over the corona time, everyone's in lockdown, and I think 90% of the people I speak to, the 10% have got fitter and look great, and there's 90% have gone, oh no, my jeans are a bit too tight now, I can't. And yet we let it happen, but it's that imperceptible. Oh, I'll just have that biscuit. Oh, I'll just have another glass of wine, or whatever it is. It's a little bit. So I'm curious to know, when you were a bit overweight, when did you wake up and go, this is ridiculous, I've got to do something about it?
I woke up when I realized my energy levels were too low.
Right.
And I had difficulty tying my shoes.
Oh, how big were you?
And that's the funny thing. I wasn't that big.
Yeah.
I work in the metric system in my head. So
okay.
I was
You have to convert it for us old ones.
Yeah, 91 kilograms. So that's like 180 to 100 pounds.
Right.
180 to 200 pounds. Somewhere like that. Well,
okay. So you're not massively overweight, but you were cuddling.
No, I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't.
But that's the hardest part, isn't it? When you're only a little bit, you don't think it's that much. It's like, oh, you can forgive yourself. I'll sort it out. But it just keeps going.
And that's what I did when I was like 88 kilos. Yeah, okay, I'm still okay. And when I got there, and I actually went down to tie my shoes, and it felt weird. I was like, gosh, I need to do something about it. But the first thing that comes to mind when we have that light bulb moment, but I don't have time.
Yes, of course you don't have time.
But I'm too busy. I don't have a gym membership. But
any excuse.
Exactly. It's like we are. Our default setting is like, let's find all the excuses that we can, 100%. So we don't do what we have to do.
Oh, it's so true. So true. I want to high five you for that. Absolutely.
It is unbelievable, but because that's our nature and that's our physiology, in the sense of our bodies, they are wired so that we spend the least energy possible. Why is that? Because our ancestors, and that I'm going really, really back, like dinosaurs and stuff, and they never knew when their next meal was going to be. So our bodies, the human body became such a perfect machine for storing energy that changing the way we did as fast as we did regarding our feeding patterns, just our bodies haven't quite yet adapted to receiving so much energy and realizing it can spend that much energy. So the laziness and the fact that we look at the sofa and we look at the treadmill and we usually are tempted to go to the sofa.
Oh, yes.
It's just a natural response.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Most people just feel so guilty about it. They don't have to.
Yeah.
It is natural. And once we realize that's our nature, then it's easier for us to actually fight against it.
Do something
and
about
change
it.
a few habits. Yeah. So when I had that snap moment, I realized, okay, I need to do something about it. It was right when we went on quarantine around March.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, it was quite recent.
Yeah.
And so now I had the time. So
No excuses.
My excuses. My excuse was gone. So I was like, okay, so I really have to do something about it because I cannot say I don't have time anymore. And that's when I realized that obviously the first couple of days were quite tiring and a bit like, oh, really, I really have to do that.
Yeah.
But once I did, I started feeling so much better and so much lighter that after a couple of months, or let's say after 3 months, we were locked down, and I was still going through all the process. And like you said, 90% got fatter, 10% got fitter. I was in the 10%. I lost 10 kilos, so like 22 pounds, I think that was. Yeah. I lost 22 pounds, and I felt then, and I still feel now, 10 years younger.
Yeah. So do you think, can you see that you would slip back into that way of being? Because that's what a lot of people struggle with, don't they? They do a great diet, woohoo, I've lost 3 stone, whatever. And then 6 months later, it's like, oh, where did it all come back from? I didn't know. All of a sudden it's back again. You don't realize it. Oh, and I've put on a few more pounds.
Yeah.
So how do you, guard against that happening?
I think that's the magic of patience. Because during the whole process, I would weigh myself every single morning. And some mornings I was a bit heavier than the night before. And but I knew, because I studied the system, because I actually studied physical education, so I've got the knowledge about the technical knowledge about it. I just realized that, okay, I'm not going to do that in a week. I can lose 10 kilos in a week. Yes, I can. It is possible. I can chop off my leg.
Okay, yeah, that would do it. Not advisable, but
not something that I wish to do, not desirable, but it is possible. But I realized that I let's do something that's sustainable.
Yeah.
So what I did, I worked the math in my favor, in the sense of the caloric deficit, all the exercising that I could do, and I realized that I was going to lose somewhere around half a kilo, maybe a kilo a week.
Right. That sounds very sensible.
I wasn't going for the let's lose everything in just a couple of weeks. I was playing the long game. Yeah. And because I did that, now that I actually got to the weight that I wanted to, which is 78 kilos, I got used along the last 6 months to a certain pattern that became my habit. So now for me to actually gain, it's going to be a sacrifice, because I'm going to have to jump out of that habit. And we all know that to do something against the habits that we have takes a whole of a lot of energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm quite happy where I am right now, and I'm truly confident that it's not going to come back because of the habit change that I had along the way. It
So
wasn't, sorry, just
yeah.
finishing the thought, but it
Yeah.
wasn't a target weight that I need to get. So it wasn't it started as a target weight. But now, and during the process, it became more of a longevity thing.
Yeah.
So I know that what I'm doing is going to add some years in my life later on. So I'm just going to carry on doing, because if I stop now, all the benefits are going to go away as well.
Yeah, what a waste. That makes crazy, isn't it, to do that? So many thoughts going through my head. I was just thinking a lot of people would be interested that I like the idea that you didn't have a goal in your head, that you're in it for the long game. Because the minute you go, I'm going on a diet, you go, I'm going to do it for a week, I'm going to do it for a month, I'm going to do it for 2 months. And then you go off of the diet, where in reality, the only way to lose the weight and or get fit at the same time is to play the long game. And understand that what I'm doing now is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It
is not a diet, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
In the sense of, and it's funny, yeah, because if I ask you, what's a horse diet, you're going to answer me,
hay.
Grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're going to grass, because naturally they eat grass.
Yeah.
If we say, what's the dog diet? Oh, the dog diet are the little things they chew every day.
They like their meat.
Yeah. And only humans that we have the diet word as something that's restrictive. Think about it. Yeah? When we say I'm going on a diet, but we have our diet. Yeah. Our diet is our fuel source.
Yeah, it's bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah, and if we start thinking about it in that sense, in the real sense of the word, so what's the human diet? The human diet are plant-based foods, animal-based foods, things that can actually fuel the human body to function in the best way possible.
So you're not actually advocating, was it the keto or the blood type or the Atkins or any of those kind of diets per se? You're just talking about feeding and fueling your body with what your body needs.
There is a saying that I've read somewhere or saw a video somewhere in social media, that it's a phrase that has been known worldwide. Apparently it came from London, so it came from you guys. It says something about eat your food, use your food as your medicine, so you don't have to eat your medicine as food.
Lovely. That's really good.
And once we actually realize that what we are fueling ourselves actually do matter, everything else, the weight loss, the fitness, they are a consequence.
Yeah.
Because if I bought a Ferrari now, so let's make an analogy here. If I bought a Ferrari, I would choose the best possible fuel to put in there.
Yes.
So I could get all the performance I was promised when I purchased it. And our bodies function in the same way. If I put the best fuel possible inside the machine that is my body, it's going to give out the best performance it can. And oftentimes we complain that we have a little pain here, or something's aching, or I'm not as fit as I used to be. But when we're kids, why do we have so much energy? Why are we so active? Because our parents just give us the healthy stuff.
That's true.
And when we want the unhealthy stuff, they just say, no, you can't. You're too young to have that.
And then when you're an adult, you just give me another donut.
Let me get another glass of beer.
Have you come across Vega tests? There's a lady that I went to. It's fascinating. It measures the electrical impulse around your body when connected to certain types of food.
All right.
So, for example, she tested. She's got tiny little vials of different foods, everything down to herbs and nuts and fish and meat and everything. So she's like, oh yes, tomatoes are okay. Try them. Oh yeah, have them cooked. Your body doesn't react badly to cooked tomatoes, but it actually reacts badly to the acid in the raw tomatoes. So try and eat cooked. All these little things, even down to wine. Let's see what wine your body likes. Oh, your body doesn't like red wine. Oh, actually, I don't like the taste of red wine that much. I've had it, but I've never really enjoyed it. Does your body like white wine? Well, it does, but it's not really ideal. I'm like, oh, okay. That makes a point, because I'm not a great lover of white wine. He said, does your body like champagne? I'm like, I definitely like champagne. And she put the little thing and she said, oh, no, you're fine on champagne. That's fun, isn't it? But, not white wine. So, yeah. And then she went the ultimate. She said, let's see if your body can take gin. I was like, oh, please. Gin is fine. Gin is very good for me. That's okay.
That's fantastic.
And then add a quinine with the tonic and you're laughing. But it is interesting how, and somebody else said there's a test that they do called the sway test, where you stand and it's intuitively knowing whether a food is good for your body. So as you go around the supermarket and say you want to buy some bananas, you literally hold or touch the bananas and then center yourself and say, is this food good for me? And your intuition, for those of you listening to this, I'm just going to move forward slightly. And if it's good for you, your body just subtly just moves forward. And if it's not good for you, your body subtly moves back. And I've tried this thinking, oh, for goodness, cynical. And I've done it several times. And all the food that I know, orange juice, oranges, is that psychological? And then even stuff that I've not known if it was good or bad for me, and I've gone backwards and forwards, and then I've gone back to my Vega test that had the electrical, oh no, it wasn't good for me, I'd forgotten about that. So I think your body actually knows. So when you're eating something and you go, I don't really like it, as an adult, unless you've just been a child and all your life and gone, I'm not going to try it because I don't like it. If you've tried lots of different things, but as an adult, I'm not a great fan of cheese, or I'm not a great fan of this. It's your intuition. It's your body saying, actually, it's not that great for you. So give it a miss. Take it away. So I don't do dairy. I rarely do wheat. It's all those kind of things that I look back and go, do you know, I never really did like it. Interesting. So you're tuning in, just like you were saying about the car. You're tuning into the fuel that your body needs that's going to give you optimum health.
Yeah, our bodies are quite intelligent machines.
Exactly. And the thing is, if you start cooking for yourself as well, you're going to put less rubbish in your body than if you're going, processed meal, that's only going to take 45 minutes in the oven. Well, actually, it takes half an hour if you just do it yourself and prepare it yourself.
The less processed food that you take, that's the best way to go. It doesn't matter what. Just make sure you get your macros accounted for, your carbs, your fats, and your protein. But just make sure that you vary a lot as well. There is no size fits all. Yeah, there is no one. This is the one diet that actually works. It depends on your body and how it responds to what you're putting inside, and it has a lot to do as well. And some researchers, new researchers are showing that it has a lot to do with the environment that you are brought up in. Okay. Because if you live in the Mediterranean and you have a Mediterranean diet, that makes a lot of sense for your body. But if you live somewhere else completely different, let's say Alaska, and have a Mediterranean diet, it might not be as good because it wouldn't make sense, because the foods that you get in Alaska, for example, just the example I gave, you need some richer foods because of the cold.
Yes.
In the Mediterranean, it might be a bit different. So it depends where you are. It depends on genetics. It depends on you.
And that's why you should eat local and eat in season. Yes. Because Mother Nature provides us for what we need at the right time.
Exactly. That's
it. The other thing you talk about, though, which I think is really powerful, is how the mindset has such a grip on our fitness and our health in general. How do you see that? How do you conquer the little gremlins inside that say, you really want a donut, go and eat a donut? I can hear it now.
Yeah. You said donut. I just like, oh yeah.
I know. Don't think of an elephant.
That's something that we don't have here in Brazil. That I can't find it properly. The donut, the ones that we get like in supermarkets, Sainsbury. Yeah, you go to Sainsbury, you get the box with
crispy
6
creams.
donuts. It's just like simple stuff. Yeah. Cannot get it here. Cannot get it here. It doesn't taste the same. It doesn't taste the same. But the mindset thing, I think that's the most important part, because if we decide I'm going to get to that goal, and if we're talking weight wise, so I'm going to lose 10 pounds. When we get to the 10 pounds, it's like we're fighting. It's like the finish line. Yeah?
Yes.
Think about Usain Bolt. When he goes 100 meters. When he crosses the line, he just floats, and the body just goes. And that's exactly what happens when we set ourselves a weight goal. Because when we get there, we just float, and we let ourselves go. And it's just going to go. And then when we realize, it's a bit too late, because then we've already stopped.
Yes, and then you've got to start all over again, and that's harder, isn't it? It's a bit like the cogs in a wheel. You know, when you start it, it's really hard, and then when it gets going, all of a sudden it's moving really easily.
Yeah,
and then if it starts again, it's like going back up the hill again.
How to overcome that is that first you've got to be patient. You've got to realize that you're not going to lose the weight that you gained over 5 years in a couple of weeks. If you do it properly, you might do it in a few months, but it's okay if you take a few years even.
Well, exactly. Don't pressurize yourself, but see it consistently, bit by bit by bit by bit. I mean, one of the things, talk about mindset, we play games with ourselves, don't we? And it depends what your emotional relationship is to food. And I know for me, I stopped getting on the scales after I fell pregnant, and the scales just read really wrong. It just doesn't. Why am I even doing that? And it takes 9 months to create a baby and 9 months to get rid of the baby fat afterwards. So I stopped getting on the scales, and I realised what I was doing is like, I need to lose half a stone. It's always half a stone. I need to lose half a stone. And so I'd get on the scales. I've lost a pound. Hurrah. I'm going to celebrate. My emotional celebration is food. So I would go and have a cream cake because I've celebrated a whole pound off, you know. And then if you get on the scale, it's like, I've put on a pound. I'm going to go and commiserate. I'll go and eat a cream cake. What's the point?
Yeah.
So don't get on the flipping scales, Jill, because all you do, every time you weigh yourself, you're going to go and eat something to reward yourself.
It's a trigger.
It is. It's bonkers. So I just don't do it anymore. But it is this, all have this deep-seated emotional connection, whether it's, if you're sad, I go and eat. If you need a reward, you go and eat. Or if you've been in an argument, you go. So for me, when I'm in sadness, when I'm unhappy, I don't eat. I get busy, and I don't eat. When I'm really, really happy and I'm doing something I'm excited about, I don't eat. So I don't need food, but somewhere along the line, I eat more than the calories, as you say, calorific intake, than I require. So I need to up the exercise or the movement in order to compensate, or just cut something out. Now, you talk about cutting things out as a food group. Now, to me, that would be my mental gremlins. By cutting out a meal would stop my my mental relationship with food because it's not there. But you have another reason for doing it, don't you? What's the sort of optimum reason to cut out of a meal during the day?
Well, just going back a little bit, right? You mentioned about the emotion to that you relate to food, and that's an important thing. That's why I just want to tap that a little bit. And we've got quite a few different types of hunger that we feel. Yeah, and the first one is thirst. You got the glass of water there. Just reminded me, and our bodies are wired again to not knowing when we would get the next source of fuel, the next source of energy, next plate of food. But also, we didn't have anywhere to store water. So we also didn't know when we would get the water. So where it came from usually from the fruits that our ancestors ate. Well, when are we going to find a fruit tree? Yeah, we wouldn't know. And we started connecting and relating our hunger when we were thirsty. We were dehydrating because we needed the food, or the water source that was the food back then. Yes. So today, quite a lot of times that we actually feel that hunger sensation is because we're thirsty. And then we can actually drink a glass of water and it's going to solve most of the problems. But emotionally, it is quite a huge problem. And I do say it affects most people. And most overweight people probably suffer that even more because they are always relating. It doesn't matter why. And obviously that would go on forever for you to actually find why you relate that emotion to that certain type of food. But it's just realizing that emotions shouldn't really make us hungry. But what am I feeling? So I've got this exercise that is quite useful. So like you said, I'm feeling sad. So what do I want to feel instead? Oh, I don't want to feel sad, or I want to feel happy. What non-food ways I can actually get that feeling? So if I ask myself that, just by thinking about it, food is going to go, okay, that's probably not the best option. Oh, I'm feeling lonely, so I'm just going to eat a whole pot of ice cream. But when I finish eating the ice cream, I'm still going to be alone. And it's just tapping into that, just getting a little bit of...
It's the questions you can ask yourself that will cut the cord for the pull of the food.
Exactly. Yeah. Because then it's going to generate a whole new other rain of motion.
And that puts you back in control, doesn't it? And once I think that's half the reason is we feel out of control. Whenever you've had a period of time where you are overweight or you are unfit or both. I mean, because it's not to say that just because you're overweight, you're unfit. Some people are still quite fit and they're just carrying the extra pounds. But it's understanding why you're putting something in your mouth. And if it's for comfort of some sort, actually you're not going to sate your appetite, because if you are hungry, you need fuel. But we carry on eating after we've sated the hunger because of something else that's going on. And to be fair, for my age group, we were brought up because our parents had been in the war when food was very scarce. You have to clean your plate. So whatever we were given, we had to finish everything that was on our plate in order to be good. So that carries through an awful lot of people. So I think if you get anybody over the age of 50, they're probably going to have suffered, if that's the right expression. And I agree, you shouldn't put anything on your plate you're not going to eat. So you have smaller portions. I mean, the restaurants now do ridiculous sized portions. You go to America. Is it?
No, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh, I can't believe
oversized part of it.
We used to order one meal between me and my husband over there, and we still had stuff left over. It was crazy, but it's obscene the amount of food that goes to waste in those places. But it's just understanding, and also the other thing is cooking your food with love. Being mentally aware that when you're preparing a meal, you're not just throwing it together and you're sitting there going, I'm not really enjoying this, so I'm going to have some dessert and I'm going to fill up on something else that's not so great. But if you cook a meal with love and you present it and you're not eating alone, ideally you don't want to eat alone, and you mindfully eat what you've got in front of you, then you
actually taste it, instead of just swallowing it.
Exactly. and then it fills you up, and it fills you up quite quickly, and then you can have a decent amount and not feel. I mean, I can't know about you, but I can't stand that feeling of being overfull. You know, that Christmas Day horrible. Feeling when you're like,
bloated. It's like,
don't need to eat for a week.
I just need to die now.
It's a fascinating subject, and it is one that we all struggle with. Even my daughter, who's the other end of the spectrum, she struggles to put on weight. So I say, like, you've got to keep eating little and often. Eat something, even if you don't feel like it, because if you fall ill, you've got nothing in reserve. You've got nothing to kind of fight the bug with. So she has to maintain her weight. So both of them don't eat to live. They live No, the other way around.
Yeah.
They don't live to eat, they eat to live.
Eat
so
to
they
live,
can
yeah.
easily go all day and go, oh, I forgot to have breakfast, and it's like 7 o'clock at night. So I have to say, come on, just think to yourself, you've got to fuel yourself. And they are very good at cooking and doing it. But it's interesting, I don't know how many people are like that, but she does have to be aware of, you know, I haven't eaten much, I need to snack. And she's always got a snack in her bag, some nuts or something, just to keep her going. And we've been out to a restaurant and we go, oh, should we go for a drink first before we go for the milk? No, I'm hungry now. I need to eat now, otherwise I'll pass out. You know what I'm like. So we have to make sure that we feed the poor child. And you look at her when she was a kid, tiny, and you could imagine people looking at me going, oh, she doesn't feed her daughter, does she? Look at the size of her. She was tiny. She was like stick thin.
Yeah,
but she eats.
I can imagine.
We're all different, which is a wonderful thing. And I think what you're doing is really turning people's conditioned views that we've had for the last 30 years. The industry of dieting is huge. And I like this sliding longevity of don't have an end goal, just be healthy. Just feel better every day. Feel a bit better. Feel a bit better. Feel a bit better. And you turn around and you go, "Oh, look! I've lost that half a stone or 3 stone or whatever it is."
You won't even realize, when you actually go to the scale and look at it, and it's just gonna go like, "Wow, I never realized that," because it just becomes part of you. And today's society, we overeat in most part of the world. Yeah, obviously we do have those countries that suffer from hunger and everything like that, but most people, especially the Western world, we overeat.
Yeah,
it's a fact. We eat way too much more than our body actually needs.
Yeah.
So a way of controlling that, and you mentioned, sometimes that I feel I'm eating too much, I just skip a meal or do something like that. That's becoming more and more popular now with intermittent fasting. Fasting's been in history forever. All the religions talk about it, and it has even some spiritual relation to it. But now, health-wise, it's such a powerful tool. And not just for losing weight. Losing weight, like I said, everything that I do and everything that I talk about, it's health related, and losing weight might be a consequence of it. That's not the main focus. Because if we focus on that, we might be doing some crazy stuff, like we see a lot of junk everywhere on the internet. Oh, look, drink this and lose that, drink that and lose this. And it's just crazy what people are willing to do to their bodies just to fit into some ideal image of someone that created that image that doesn't even exist anymore and doesn't really care. So it's unbelievable. And the craziness they do just to get there too fast. It's just unbelievable. So what I've started doing with intermittent fasting is that, I do skip a meal. I started with doing the protocol 16-hour fasting to an 8-hour window of eating.
Right.
So why is that good for you? It goes against everything that we've heard. We've grown up hearing, we've got a saying here in Brazil. Translating, it doesn't sound as
sounds better in
as
Brazilian.
good, but I'm sure it's gonna make sense. It's like a sack, an empty sack doesn't stay upright. It just falls off. Obviously. So if I've got a full sack, I can actually make it upright. And I grew up with my mom, with my grandmother, just telling me that all the time. So you've got to eat something because an empty sack doesn't stay upright. And it just takes to our mind, obviously, that we have to eat. And because the food industry is so powerful and so huge in the world and so profitable as well, they created this idea that we have to have 5-6 meals a day, and that's the healthy way to go.
The Victorians have got a lot to answer for in that space, because they invented supper and they invented brunch and afternoon tea, and it's like, hang on, how many meals do we need?
We don't. We could do with a meal a day for the most radical ones that actually practice intermittent fasting, they live on a meal a day, and they're fine, and they're healthy, and some of them are even building muscle on top of it.
Yeah.
But it just brings us to such an amazing peak performance of our bodies, because once we restrict our body from energy intake every single hour, so our bodies start to guess, well, when is it going to come? When is the next energy source coming from? When is it going to happen? And then our bodies start to think that we are living in shortage.
Right.
So what it does, it becomes more efficient.
Okay.
Because our bodies are made to adapt. They are intelligent machines, and much more intelligent than what we consciously think. Yeah. So it adapts and it becomes more efficient by doing a whole lot of chemical and biological things inside of us. I'm not going to go all scientific here because that's not the point. But we actually get younger, in the sense of when our cells are a bit damaged, they can carry on working. That's fine. They're not as efficient as they would be if they were new, but they still work. When we go into the fasting state, our body realizes that it needs to be more efficient. So it actually gets those damaged cells and it renews it.
Okay.
Through a process called autophagy, for example. Yeah.
Okay.
And we get better cells, more efficient cells, renewed. So I joke about it, and I say that I feel 10 years younger because I probably am, physiologically speaking.
Yes.
Yeah, physiologically speaking. But also, it changes our metabolism from using glucose as the main source of fuel
Energy,
to ketones.
Okay.
So it helps us burn fat more quickly.
Right.
So the weight loss actually is helped in that sense. But studies also show that when we're using ketones as our main source of fuel, our mind functions better. We have more clarity.
I like that.
It is great for preventing type 2 diabetes, for example, because it increases our insulin sensitivity. And we don't have those spikes of glucose in our blood, so we don't get the spikes of insulin that comes together. It helps prevent heart-related diseases, because obviously if we're burning more fat, we're not accumulating fat in our arteries. So it brings all these benefits, health and longevity benefits, that just makes sense.
Yeah. So when you're doing it, do you stick to the 16-hour rule, or do you just have one meal a day or something? How do you do it?
I started doing 16 hours because it's just practical. It's not too hard to start with, and it's just practical because I used to just skip breakfast.
Yeah.
So I would start eating at noon and stop eating at 8 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
So that's fine. I've got this 8-hour window the whole day. I can eat. It's all good. And then after that, I'm just going to sleep and wake up and start my day. Now, I've changed a little bit. I went a step further because I've been doing that for quite a few months now. So I started doing 20 hours to a 4-hour window.
Whoa.
So now I have breakfast.
Yeah.
Around 10:30, half 10. And then I have lunch around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I've got this 4-hour window, which I can eat quite okay. I quite a lot. And then I don't have dinner. And what I'm feeling, to be honest, I've just started that 24 thing recently. I'm feeling really good.
Cool.
Because
evidence. Yeah.
Because I actually drink more water, so I'm more hydrated.
Mm.
And our bodies, obviously, they are made up to 70% of water, so that's what we really need. Yeah, even more so than food.
Yeah.
So it makes me drink a lot of water, which is great for me. And I'm doing my training, so I do my exercise every day. I'm keeping my weight, so I'm not losing weight now. Yeah. Because on my feeding level. On my feeding window, I actually eat enough calories to get me through the day. Yeah. And it just feels so great. It just feels so good.
It's another way of doing it, isn't it? And it's finding that thing that really works for you. I mean, I quite often, on a Saturday, I'll have my breakfast at 7 in the morning, and then we won't have anything to eat until 7 at night. And that's when you're out and you're moving and you're walking and you're doing, you don't think about anything. And then, but I like the idea.
You don't starve because of that, do you?
Exactly. What I also like is your idea that hopefully in the future, when people choose to do this, as an example, that if they're giving up a meal, if they're doing the 16-hour thing, if they're giving up a meal, they might be able to donate that meal.
Yes, that's an idea that came to mind. I was even quite impressed with it. I was like, "Wow, did I think of that?" No, I must have seen it somewhere. Yeah, but because I don't advocate for any type of diets in the sense of keto, Atkins, or Mediterranean, or anything like that. You just eat what you feel good eating. Yeah, make sure it's not processed, and you should be fine. Mm-hmm. But I do advocate for the intermittent fasting thing because it does bring a lot of health benefits. So if you actually apply that and if you start practicing it, if you're gonna skip a meal, you're gonna need less food in your cupboard. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I don't want to get into a fight with the food industry because they're way too big, way too strong. They're gonna beat me up. So don't stop buying from the supermarket. That's not the idea. Carry on buying the same stuff that you used to. But because you're eating less, you're going to have some leftovers. That meal that you're not eating, why not donate? Mm. Because there are quite a lot of people that actually need that help. And especially in this weird, completely different time we're living now, you probably have someone in a difficult situation around the corner, even if you live in a developed country. Yeah. Because a lot of people are going to be out of jobs. A lot of people are going to be relying on government support. And the support's going to end in October in Britain, for example, that I've heard.
Yeah, indeed.
So where are they going to get the money from to buy food? So... And then we're going back to the very basics of human existence. Yeah. So why not do that?
It's a beautiful idea. I love it.
If we think of it, wow, just one meal a day, not going to kill me. Actually, I'm doing something that's good for my health.
Yes, exactly. It's not going to kill me. You're not putting yourself under pressure or doing something that's going to be hard. It's just, it's psychologically difficult initially because your mind goes, oh, look at the time, I should be hungry and I should be, but no, you're not. And I would imagine your way of doing it is socially of an evening, people sit down together to have dinner, don't they? So that makes it a little bit more difficult. But just, as I say, as you said before, you stop eating at 8 o'clock and then you don't eat again until 12 o'clock the next day. At 16 hours, you've missed out on breakfast. It isn't the most important meal of the day. No. Because your body doesn't need to break the fast. It needs to carry on a little bit longer. And I agree with you. I've done that occasionally, not very often. But it does give you this kind of mental clarity, which is quite bizarre. And if you imagine your body's having to work hard to digest it all the time, well, obviously the energy is going somewhere else rather than up there. So it kind of makes sense.
That's why here in Brazil, we are really big on lunch. Yeah. So lunch is our main meal of the day. Yeah. People sit down, they have like a full plate of rice, beans, meat, salad, everything, vegetables.
You're making me hungry now, Katsumi. Listen.
After we finish lunch, we all feel like having a nap. Productivity goes to space, and obviously being in an empty stomach can actually help your stomach cleanse itself and regenerate, which is quite a desirable thing
So many
to
benefits,
do.
yeah.
And thinking about it, if I give up one meal a day, so that's and I'm doing that because it's good for my health. So I just give that to someone that actually needs. I might be giving one meal a day to the only meal a day of someone else.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But then if you think, if you've got 10 people doing that, you've got 10 meals a day, we've got 300 meals a month. If we go a bit further and we've got 1,000 people doing it, we've got 30,000 meals a month.
Yeah.
And then if we go really crazy, and like I said, my idea is to impact millions of people. If we talk about 1 million people, we are actually donating 30 million meals a month, which would probably feed a small country that really needs.
And it's like there is a hunger problem in this world that we have managed to create for ourselves, because there is definitely enough to go around.
There's more than enough.
And that one simple solution could end world hunger. It doesn't, wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is. It is an amazing idea, in the sense that we tackle two problems.
Yes, exactly. It's good for me, it's good for you. And that's kind of the whole philosophy of Collaboration Global, is that come together, create something, have a brilliant idea, and it's a win-win-win. And it's a win for you, it's a win for me, it's a win for the planet. It's a win for the people that we haven't even met yet, that we can support and we can help. So on that lovely note, Katsumi, I'm going to draw this to a close, because I've got a feeling you and I could talk for another 2 or 3 hours.
Probably.
So hopefully somebody's been having a little jog with this going on in their ears, and hopefully you've come and you've done your 5K or however many K you were running, and getting some good exercise, because you're a healthy person listening to this, obviously. Everybody,
I try to.
Everybody is. And I think it's fantastic to watch you've only just begun, really, and you've done so much in a relatively short space of time. You've lived it for yourself, you're experiencing it for yourself, you're sharing it with your clients already, you're getting some great success stories, and this final idea of, give up a meal and then donate a meal, I think was going to have a massive impact. So I'm going to watch this space with interest, and hopefully when we have our next podcast in 6 months or a year's time, and you can bring us up to speed on how that's going, it's going to be fascinating. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
I've loved every minute. If people want to contact you, maybe to get some advice on how they can either get a bit fitter or lose a bit of weight, or continue this conversation about how they can maybe do some intermittent fasting,
right?
What's the best way to contact you?
Social media, Instagram and my Facebook page are on KCS Natural Fitness. That's the name I go by. You can also find my personal Facebook, Katsumi Sakamoto, as well. And my website is www.kcsnaturalfitness.com. You can get some information there, and also you can see some testimonials that people that have worked with me and the success they got. And also you have a space that you can get straight in contact with me. So Brilliant. That would be the easiest way.
Fantastic. So many places we can get some information and get supported as well. So if you're on a journey of losing some weight or getting fit, then I thoroughly recommend a natural way to do it, and talk to Katsumi about this. So if you've enjoyed listening to this podcast and you would like to meet Katsumi in the flesh, we meet on a monthly basis, the last Tuesday of the month at Collaboration Global. You can go onto Eventbrite and find our details and just search for Collaboration Global, or you can go onto our website, which is collaborationglobal.org. If you fancy having a chat with me over anything, it's jill@collaborationglobal.org. Just email me, drop me a line. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Katsumi. It's been fascinating.
Thank you, Jill.
Look forward to seeing you next time.
It was a pleasure.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.